Right now, somewhere in this country, a woman is standing over a donation bag with a brooch in her hand. It's old, a little tarnished. Maybe a stone is missing. She decides it's junk. She lets it drop into the bag, and she has no idea she just gave away $900. Brooches are the most overlooked jewelry in every attic in America. Nobody wears them anymore, so nobody bothers to check them. That is the exact mistake I want to stop you from making today. Some of these old pins are worth more than the ring on your finger, and they get tossed because they look like nothing. I have watched it happen. Years ago, at an estate sale in a little brick house outside Columbus, I saw a whole shoebox of brooches marked $1 each on a folding table by the garage. One of them, I found out later, was worth close to $2,000. Somebody bought that box, and it was not me. I have never forgotten it, so stay with me. The one that gets thrown away most often and the one worth the most, I am saving for the very end, and I will give you the exact mark to look for on the back. This is not a video for collectors. This is about the box in your closet, the pin cushion on your mother's dresser, the tin of odds and ends nobody has opened in years. Let me start with the one almost everyone gets wrong. The cameo. You know the one. The little carved profile of a woman, creamy figure against a soft pink or orange background, set in a gold-toned frame. Your grandmother had one. Everybody's grandmother had one. And because everybody had one, people assume they are all worthless. That assumption is exactly how the good ones slip away. Here is what happened to a woman I spoke with. She was clearing her mother's dresser, and she had a pile of cameos going straight into a yard sale bag at 50 cents apiece. Her daughter picked one up, held it to the lamp, and stopped her. That one cameo was not the common kind. Most cameos you find are made of shell. Carved conch shell, thin, and if you hold one up to a bright light, the light passes right through it, and you can often see the tool lines. Shell cameos are pretty, but the ordinary ones sell for $20 to $40, and honestly, some go for less. That is the kind most people have. But some cameos are not shell at all. They are carved from hard stone, from agate sardonyx layered stone, where a skilled carver cut down through a dark layer to a pale layer underneath. Hold a hard stone cameo to the light, and no light passes through. It is solid. It is cold and heavy against your cheek. Those are the ones that get real money. A genuine Victorian hardstone cameo carved in Italy in the 1800s regularly sells for $300 to $800, and the fine ones climb into the low thousands. And there is one detail that makes an appraiser sit up straight. It is called a cameo habillé, which just means a cameo that is dressed. The carved lady is wearing real jewelry, a tiny diamond or seed pearl set right into the stone as a necklace or a tiara. When you see that little glint of a genuine gem on the carved figure, you are holding something that has sold at auction for well over $1,000. So the relief here is simple. Hold every cameo to the light. If the light passes through, it is shell, and it is likely modest. If it stays dark and solid, and especially if the little lady is wearing a sparkle of her own, you set that one aside and you do not let it go for 50 cents. But cameos are the easy one. The next one fools people even worse because it looks broken when it is actually rare. Let me tell you about the Scottish pebble brooch. Picture a silver pin, round or shaped like a shield or a little dagger, and set into it are these polished pieces of gray, brown, and deep red stone, fitted together like a puzzle. Half the time, one or two of the stone pieces have fallen out, leaving empty little windows in the metal, and that is precisely why people throw them away. It looks damaged. It looks like a cheap old costume piece missing half its bits. It is not. These are Scottish agate brooches, sometimes called pebble jewelry, and they were made mostly in Scotland and England from the 1840s through the end of the 1800s. Queen Victoria loved everything Scottish, and when the Queen loves something, the whole country wants it. So craftsmen took local agates and bloodstone and carnelian and cut them into these tight geometric mosaics set in silver. Here is how you know you have a real one. Turn it over. The back should be silver, often with a long C-shaped clasp and a hinge, the old kind of pin fitting, not a modern spring. The stones on the front should sit flush and tight, hand-fitted, each one polished flat. The colors are natural stone colors, muddy reds, banded grays, mossy greens, never bright candy colors. A complete Scottish agate brooch in good condition sells regularly for $200 to $600. The rare shapes, the ones made like a Scottish dagger or set with a real citrine in the center, have brought over 1,000 at auction, and here is the part that hurts. Even one with missing stones, the very ones people toss because they look broken, still sells to collectors for restoration, often $100 or more just for the silver work and the remaining agate. So do not throw away the broken-looking mosaic pin. That damage you see is not damage in the way you think. It is a survivor from the 1800s. Now, I know some of you are watching this thinking, none of this is you. You are thinking your boxes are full of plastic and clip-ons and nothing your grandmother would have called real. This next part is for you especially, so do not drift off. Because the next kind of brooch is the one people are most sure is worthless, and it is the one I most want you to physically check tonight. I am talking about the black brooch. The dark, carved, mourning-style pin. It might be a black rose, a black cameo, a black oval with a woven pattern inside. It looks gloomy. It looks like nothing. And it goes in the trash faster than almost anything else, because who wants grandma's sad black jewelry? Here is what to do tonight. With your own two hands, no tools, no expert. Find every black brooch in the house. Now hold one and feel its weight and its temperature. Real Whitby jet, the good English morning jet carved in the Yorkshire town of Whitby from the 1860s onward, is warm. It feels warm to the touch, not cold, because true jet is fossilized wood, not stone and not glass. It is very light in your hand, surprisingly light, and when you run it against an unglazed surface to the back of a piece of pottery, it leaves a brown streak, never black. Now compare that to the fakes of its own time. A lot of black brooches were made of black glass, which people call French jet, and that is cold and heavy and leaves no streak. There is also vulcanite, an early hard rubber, which can smell faintly of sulfur if you rub it warm and often faded to a dull brown. Why does this matter to your wallet tonight? Because genuine carved Whitby jet brooches, especially the deeply carved ones with flowers or a portrait, sell for $150 to $500, and museum-quality carved pieces go far higher. The black glass ones are worth much less, but you cannot know which you have until you pick it up and feel whether it is warm and light or cold and heavy. That is a test you can run in your kitchen in the next 5 minutes, and it is exactly the kind of thing nobody ever tells the person cleaning out the house. So go feel your black brooches, and when you have come back, because now we leave the antiques and step into the part of the box that fools people the hardest of all, the stuff that looks like plain old costume jewelry, because here's the truth nobody prepares you for. Some of the most valuable brooches in that box are not gold and are not real gems at all. They are what people dismiss as fake jewelry, and the people who buy estate lots for almost nothing are counting on you never learning the names I am about to give you. Start with a strange one, the Coro duet. Coro was one of the biggest costume jewelry makers in America, and to most people the name Coro means cheap, common, worth a couple of dollars. And a lot of plain Coro pins truly are worth just a few dollars. That is why the special ones get grouped in with the junk and sold by the bagful. But in 1931, Coro patented something clever called the duet. It is a metal frame that holds two matching clips. Together they look like one brooch. But you can slide the two clips off the frame and wear them separately, one on each side of a collar or on your shoes. It is a two-in-one piece, and it is genius, and most people who find one have no idea it comes apart. Here is how you spot it. Turn the piece over. If it is a real duet, you will see the frame with the two clip mechanisms, and stamped in the metal you should find the word Coro or Corocraft, and often the words duet and a patent number. The best ones, marked Corecraft and made in sterling silver during the 1940s, are set with beautifully colored stones, and some are figurals, little birds, flowers, bows. Plain ones sell for $30 to $60. But the sterling Corecraft duets, the ones with the trembling flower petals, the famous quivering camellia design, sell for $200 to $500, and the rarest figural duets have crossed $600. That is from a piece that most people would price at $2 on a garage sale table because the name Coro told them it was nothing. So flip it over, look for that word duet and that patent number, and if it comes apart into two clips, you slow way down. Think about how many times you've stood over a box like that, holding a pin you couldn't name, guessing whether it was junk or a small fortune. That guessing is exactly what I want to end for you, and that's the whole reason I put together the Hidden Value Complete System. It's a plain PDF that lands in your email, and it walks you through every kind of piece we're talking about tonight. Brooches worth hundreds hiding in plain sight, the costume jewelry that outsells real gold, and how to read hallmarks and maker's marks like a seasoned appraiser instead of a nervous guesser. Here's a free test you can run before you go to bed. Take one brooch you were sure was worthless, turn it over, and see if it carries any of the marks we've covered so far. A maker's name, a patent number, the word sterling. That one flip, done with your own hands, will show you the system is real before you ever spend a dime. The fastest way to get the books is to scan the QR code right there on your screen, or go to the link in the description or the pinned comment. And remember, these old pieces aren't waiting on a sale date. The value is sitting in your drawer right now quietly, whether you look or not. Now let me show you the next name, because this one fools people the opposite way. But if Coro fooled you because it sounds cheap, this next name fools people the opposite way, because it sparkles so much they assume it must be fake. Eisenberg. Around the 1930s and into the 1940s, a clothing company named Eisenberg was making dresses, and to sell those dresses they pinned a dazzling rhinestone brooch on each one. The stones were so bright, so clear, so large, that women started buying the dress just to get the pin. So Eisenberg started selling the jewelry on its own. And here is what makes these special. Eisenberg used top-grade crystal, the finest available, cut and clear and full of fire. The early pieces are big, bold, and heavy, and they throw light across a room. People pick them up today and think, this is too flashy to be worth anything, it must be plastic rhinestones. Wrong. Look on the back for the mark. The earliest and most valuable are marked Eisenberg Original, sometimes with a script letter E. Later ones say Eisenberg Ice. The words Eisenberg Original are the ones you want to see, because those early figural brooches, the big bows, the flowers, the flowing dress clip designs from before 1945, sell today for $200 to $700, and the rare large figurals have brought over $1,000. I watched a woman at a church rummage sale nearly price one of these at $3 because, in her words, it was too gaudy to be real. It was an Eisenberg Original. It was real. Someone quietly bought it, and both of us knew what it was worth. So the relief is this. Do not let sparkle fool you into thinking cheap. Turn it over. If it says Eisenberg Original, you are holding hundreds of dollars. Therefore, the lesson is building. The name on the back is everything, and the next name is one that separates the people who know from the people who lose money, because there are two versions of the mark, and only one of them is the treasure. Marcel Boucher. Boucher was a designer who had trained at Cartier. Let that sink in. A man who worked at Cartier, one of the greatest jewelry houses in the world, started making costume brooches in America in the late 1930s. And because he learned to make fine jewelry, his costume pieces are built like fine jewelry. The way the stones are set, the way a bird's wing curves, the way the enamel is laid down, it is a cut above. His earliest pieces, from around 1937 into the early 40s, are marked with the letters MB inside a little cartouche, sometimes with a tiny bird, a Phrygian cap. Later pieces just say Boucher with a style number. The famous ones are the birds, the Boucher bird brooches with enamel and rhinestones, the ones people mistake for a child's toy pin, sell for $200 to $600, and the rare early ones with that MB bird mark climb higher. Here is the near miss I want you to hold on to. These bird and flower pins are colorful and playful, and that playfulness is exactly why they end up in the kids' dress-up box. I have seen genuine Boucher brooches worn to threads by grandchildren playing pretend because an adult decided a colorful bird pin was a toy. Check the dress-up box. Check the bottom of the jewelry drawer where the fun-looking pieces get shoved. Look for MB or Boucher on the back. But the next maker takes a different route into your heart because these do not sparkle at all. They look old-fashioned and soft, and that is exactly the trap. Miriam Haskell. Haskell brooches are not about diamonds and fire. They are about pearls. Baroque glass pearls, irregular, warm, hand-wired onto filigree backings in soft gold tones, layered flowers and clusters that look almost antique, almost Victorian. And because they look like old faded costume pearls, people assume they are worth nothing. A woman clearing a house sees a cluster of cream pearls on a tarnished gold pin and thinks, junk, and into the bag it goes. Miriam Haskell started her company in 1926, and her designer Frank Hess created these intricate hand-wired pieces that no machine could copy. The pearls are made of glass dipped many times to build up that deep glow, and each one is wired down by hand onto a filigree plate. Turn it over. Older Haskell pieces from before the late 1940s may not be signed at all, which is heartbreaking because those are often the finest. Later ones carry a horseshoe-shaped plaque or an oval stamp that reads Miriam Haskell. Look at the back construction. If you see hand wiring, tiny wires wrapped around each element on an ornate gold filigree plate, you are looking at real craftsmanship. Signed Miriam Haskell, brooches sell for $150 to $500 routinely, and the elaborate large ones, the big pearl and rhinestone florals, reach $800 and beyond. From something that looks like a handful of old fake pearls on a tarnished pin. So do not dismiss the soft, faded pearly one. Flip it. Look for that horseshoe mark and that hand-wired filigree. Therefore, if a maker who trained at Cartier and a maker famous for pearls are hiding in your box, you can imagine the next one is even sneakier. And it is, because this one is often not signed at all, and you have to know it by how it is built. Shriner of New York. Shriner made costume jewelry from around 1939 into the 1970s, and collectors chase these pieces hard because Shriner did things no one else did. Two things especially. First, Shriner set many of its stones upside down. The pointed end of the rhinestone faces out toward you instead of the flat table. It gives the piece a spiky, dimensional, almost sea urchin look. Second, Shriner used unfoiled stones and unusual keystone-shaped stones arranged in ruffled layers that build up like a flower with many petals. Now here is the danger. Many Shriner pieces are unsigned, so you cannot just flip it and read a name. You have to recognize the construction. Look for the upside-down stones with the points facing out. Look for the layered, ruffled, dimensional build. Look at how the stones are held in little hook prongs. When it is signed, the mark says Shriner, New York on a plaque. Signed Shriner brooches, especially the big ruffled brooches and the ones in unusual colors, sell for $300 to over $1,000. The rarest have sold for well beyond that. And the unsigned ones that collectors can identify by that upside-down setting still bring serious money. This is the point where the near miss gets truly frightening, because with an unsigned piece there is no name to save you. If you do not know the construction, you will never know what you had. Somebody who does know is happy to buy it from you for $5. Which brings me to the second unsigned trap, and this one is even more common in American homes because it was everywhere in the 1960s, Juliana. There was a company called DeLizza and Elster, and in the late 1960s they made a line of big, bold, colorful rhinestone jewelry. The tag on some pieces said Juliana, but the tag was a paper hang tag, and paper tags fall off. So almost every one of these pieces you find today is completely unsigned. No mark whatsoever. And that is why they get sold for $1. But collectors have learned to identify Juliana by construction. and you can too. Turn the brooch over. Look for what is called 5-link construction on the bracelets, but on brooches, look for these signs. The stones are set in open back cups so light can get through. There are often puddles of solder on the back, little rounded blobs where the metal was joined. You will see rhinestone chains, and the backs are usually unplated on the reverse. The fronts are big, dramatic, layered, in root beer browns, aurora borealis, rainbow finishes, and rich jewel tones with dangling beads. Juliana brooches sell for $80 to $300, and the large, elaborate, matched pieces go higher into the 400s and beyond for a full set. From a piece with no name on it at all that everyone assumes is worthless because it is not signed. So, an unsigned pin is not a worthless pin. Sometimes the absence of a mark is the very thing you have to look past to see the value. Feel the weight. Look at the open backs. Look for those solder puddles. But everything I have told you so far, every cameo, every agate, every sparkling signed brooch, has been leading to one piece, the one I have watched vanish into trash bags more than any other, the one worth the most, the one I promised you at the start. This is the one. It is called a jelly belly. Now stay with me because the name sounds silly, and that is part of the tragedy. A jelly belly is a brooch shaped like an animal, a fish, a spider, a rooster, a penguin, a frog, and the body of the animal, the belly, is a big, clear, domed piece of lucite. Lucite is a clear plastic. And the moment people see a big, clear plastic blob in the middle of a metal animal pin, they think plastic, cheap, toy, trash, into the bag. But that clear belly is not cheap plastic junk. It is the signature of one of the most collected brooches in American history. Here is the story. The maker was Trifari, and their master designer was a man named Alfred Philippe, who, like Boucher, had trained in the great fine jewelry workshops before coming to America. Starting in the early 1940s, during the Second World War, something important happened. The government restricted the use of base metals for jewelry because the metal was needed for the war. So the finest costume makers, Trifari included, switched to sterling silver for their better pieces. And Alfred Philippe designed a series of little animals with clear lucite bellies set in sterling silver decorated with rhinestones and enamel. Those wartime sterling jelly bellies are the treasure. Here is exactly what to look for, and you can check this weekend. Turn the animal over, on the back, look for the mark. You want to see the word Trifari, and on the wartime pieces you often see Trifari with a little crown over the T, and crucially you want to see the word sterling stamped into the metal. Trifari with a crown, and the word sterling on a little animal with a clear domed belly. That combination is what sends collectors reaching for their wallets. What do they actually sell for? A Trifari, sterling, jelly belly fish, or penguin regularly sells for $400 to $900. The more sought-after designs, the spider, the rooster, certain rare animals, have sold for over $1,000 and even up toward $2,000 at auction and through the top costume jewelry dealers. These figures are documented in the major costume jewelry price references and in auction records for signed Trifari. Now here is why this is the one that breaks my heart. Remember that shoebox of dollar brooches I told you about at the start, at that estate sale outside Columbus? I found out afterward from someone who bought part of that box that one of the pins in it was a Trifari sterling jelly belly, a clear-bellied little creature marked with the crown and the word sterling. It sold in that box for $1, and it was worth close to $2,000. One person one time held that pin up, saw the crown, read the word sterling, and knew. That is the entire difference between $1 and $2,000, knowing to turn it over. Knowing what the crown and the word sterling mean on a silly little animal with a jelly belly, and that is why I need you to go and do this. Every animal pin in the house, every bug, bird, fish, frog, any little critter brooch, especially any with a clear or frosted dome center that looks like plastic, turn it over right now and read the back. Trifari with a crown, the word sterling. If you see those, you are not holding a toy. You are holding what a lot of people in this exact situation have thrown straight into the trash without a second look. That is the relief I wanted to hand you before it was too late. Because the near miss I described is not rare. It is the most common loss in this whole category. The Jelly Belly gets tossed because it looks like plastic, and plastic is exactly what makes it valuable, and almost nobody knows that until the moment after it is gone. So let me leave you with the feeling I most want you to carry out of here. It is not greed, it is relief. It is the quiet, steadying relief of picking up a pin you were about to give away, turning it over, and realizing you caught it in time. You are the kind of person who refuses to let something valuable slip out the door for $1 just because nobody ever taught you what to look for. That is why you are still here. That is why you watched to the end. And now you know things that the person who buys estate boxes for nothing was truly hoping you would never learn. So I have to ask you, and I want a real answer, which one of these did you almost give away? Was it the black mourning brooch you thought was too gloomy to keep? Was it the flashy Eisenberg you assumed was too gaudy to be real? Or is there a little animal pin with a clear belly sitting in a drawer right now that you are about to go turn over? Tell me in the comments. Tell me which brooch you are walking to go check the second this ends. I read them, and I want to know what you find on the back. And if you refuse to keep losing the value hiding in your own home, then stay with people like you. Subscribe, because the next thing I am opening up is the drawer nobody suspects at all, the one full of old wristwatches and pocket watches, where a single name stamped on a dial can turn a $5 watch into a 4-figure one. You do not want to clean out that drawer before you have seen it. Go turn over your brooches, feel the black ones for warmth, hold the cameos to the light, and find that crown in that little word sterling before anyone else does. Before you go, let me tell you what waits just past this video. In the hidden treasures circle, I keep going right where I stopped here. And inside, you can ask me about a pin in your own drawer, and a real person, me, answers you myself. You won't be doing this alone. So many collectors like you are already here. Just point your phone at the code on screen, and you can cancel any time. Now, before you go, let me show you something just as valuable. Those old earrings sitting in your drawer could be worth a small fortune, too. The next video is starting right here, so stay with me.